Hello, friends! Today I will tell you a very unusual story that became popular on the internet. It was first told about 2 years ago when the narrator shared what he had to endure and how beautifully he got out of the situation into which he was drawn into by his beloved girl, and with whom, by the way, he planned to build a family and dedicate to her all his life. Let's get started. A young man named Craig had been dating a girl named Jennifer for several years. They met in London back in 2015 when they were finishing their studies at the university. Craig studied as an architect and Jennifer as a lawyer. They were introduced to each other by their old and, as always seemed to Craig, trusted friend. Craig had been friends with a guy named Smith since childhood, and they decided to enter the same university. Smith decided to be a lawyer like his father, and by coincidence, he shared a class with Jennifer. Craig's relationship with Jenny developed very rapidly. The young people immediately liked each other, and soon their friendship grew into true love, at least it seemed to him. After graduation, they rented an apartment together and lived in love and care for several years. Craig worked in a large company as an assistant architect, and the girl started her career as a lawyer. They had a warm friendship with Smith all this time. He was a true and faithful friend of the family. They went on vacation together, and he even had the keys to their apartment. It seemed like their happiness could never end, and therefore it was time to think about getting married. In 2017, Craig made a proposal to the girl, and of course, she said yes. The parents of the lovers were happy with their choice. Jennifer dreamed of a big and chic wedding. After all, you get married only once and for the rest of your life, and therefore the event should be grandiose. The bride's parents, of course, supported her and even took the great share of the costs for themselves. It was decided to hold the ceremony in a suburban complex with its own restaurant and park, and the number of guests was more than 300 people. So preparations for the celebration of the newlyweds began. But as it turned out later, this time everything went wrong, not as it was planned, at least by the bride. The groom, of course, took care of his beloved and helped her in everything that was possible, with the selection of napkins and with the accommodation of the guests, and he even tasted the dishes. And when that unforgettable day came, when the guests began to arrive, Craig warmly greeted each of them, and he affectionately called the bride's parents Mom and Dad. All of Jenny's relatives were happy that she met such a worthy and, most importantly, caring man who helped her in everything. The bride was simply irresistible in a beautiful and expensive white dress. A smile never left her face. She was the center of attention. Craig tried his best to please all the invited guests and devoted his time to everyone. Finally, when the official ceremony had already ended and it was time to raise glasses for the newlyweds, the groom stood up and went to the stage. The guests became silent. Everyone wanted to hear the romantic speech of the man who was in love. He started by saying that he was sincerely grateful to all of the relatives who had put off all of their urgent affairs and had come from afar to such an important celebration in his life. He expressed special gratitude to the bride's relatives, his mom and dad, who helped to organize such an amazing and unusual ceremony. He thanked each of them for all that they did and for their beautiful presents. And in gratitude for this, he personally wanted to thank every guest who came. Tears flowed down the bride's mother's cheeks, and Jenny was shining with happiness because for her it was also a surprise. He asked each guest to bend down and remove an envelope that was attached to the bottom of each chair with tape, but not open it yet. The guests started looking for the envelopes under their chairs, and soon all of them were ready to open them. When everyone was ready, the groom turned to the bride and said, "Jenny, from the very first day we met, I loved you more than life. You are the only one whom I would like to grow old with, holding hands, and this gift is for you for all the happy times when I was not beside you." And turning to the audience, Craig asked all of the guests to open the envelopes. Of course, everyone thought that there would be gifts with thanks inside, but everything turned out to be much more complicated and worse than that. In each envelope, the guests saw photographs depicting another man, Smith, their family friend, and the bride. To put it mildly, they looked ridiculous because they were without any clothes and they were doing things which were much closer than just being friends. To say that the guests were in shock is an understatement. As it turned out later, the groom had suspected his bride and friend for a long time. It seemed suspicious to him that when he returned from work, sometimes Smith was already at his place drinking tea with Jennifer. And in general, their behavior, looks, and other things were not hidden, no matter how hard they tried. So the loving man quickly saw the feelings between them. A few weeks before the solemn date, Craig said he was leaving on a business trip for a few days. Before his departure, he installed a hidden camera which captured everything that was happening there all this time. The groom decided that if he would just leave, it would be too easy for them. He trusted these people who were cheating on him. So he decided not to cancel the ceremony, but to wait until everyone gathered to publicly expose them. After that, Craig left the wedding with the words, "I have nothing more to do here." But before he left, he clearly remembered the face of the bride, who did not know where to hide from such a shame, especially after her father publicly slapped her in the face. What happened next to the young people of this story is not known, but I think it is not difficult to imagine what the traitors had to endure when they were dishonored in front of their whole family. Many supported the guy and wrote that it was better to do it when he did on the wedding day than when it would be too late with children and more. And revenge is a dish best served cold. Friends, write your opinion on whether the guy did the right thing in this situation. It would be interesting to know. Well, that is all for today. Rate the video and see you soon.